What many of us don't actually realize about love is that it is actually a substance. It is, I would describe it as, I found a good way to understand it is that it is like a core element of all other elements, which is all other stuff, right? We understand the fire, earth, water, ether, and so on. If you can imagine that what is giving birth to those things is something else, another element called love. That is a good way to conceive of the concept of love. At the present time, love is not associated in this way in human consciousness, generally speaking. It is associated with actually pain and suffering for a lot of people. A lot of people, that's an unconscious association, but it's because love has been basically transformed or metamorphosized into attachment. And if you see me looking away or kind of pausing, I am listening to my spirit guides a little bit as I talk about this. They're just adding little notes here and there. But yeah, and it's also, just my observation that love has been associated with attachment. And attachment has a very grasping or clinging, holding onto connection thing associated with it. And this is really not what love is, universally speaking. That's a really good way of understanding attachment. I am attached, I am clinging to, I am holding on to. But the greater message for humanity right now is to understand what love actually is, firstly, and then understanding that you are love. Just like the elements, earth and water and fire and all the other ones, ether, we understand that we are made up of these things. We are made up of little particles of stuff, atoms, elements, whatever floats your boat. And it's good to understand that within that, within these elements, a core element is love. It is the core element of all elements, of all particles, of all anything and everything. It's this substance that everything else is blooming from. It is consciousness. Because there is a truth here that everything that is alive. And when we say alive, we are talking about, as far as I'm concerned, about consciousness and things being, having that same energy that you are. There are just simply different forms of consciousness and different expressions and degrees of the expression of consciousness. So love is this core element within all elements. Because of that, it is the center of you. It really, truly is. And it's time that we understand this as the way that you understand that air is all around you. No one's disputing that. It's a very strong fact. It's factual. You can sort of touch it mentally and even understand it viscerally. It's not just a construct. It is. When I take a breath in, air is. I may not see it, but I feel it, and I understand the effect it's having on me, and so on. It's an undisputed awareness. This is another good way to understand what love is. It is this stuff that is in all the stuff, that is all around you and within you. And it's not as simple as something like air, though. It is not as prescribed to one form. Air is like beginning as love, as we all do, and then it became assigned as what we call air. Just like I eventually all the building blocks of me came together and I became something called Becc. That is the way that all things are born and the function of consciousness. But that also means that within everything there is love, and within me it is love that I am. That is what I am. But yeah, it is when you start to touch on the element of love, simply by focusing on it, it doesn't have to be this giant thing that you do, but when you touch on the element love, you begin to understand its qualities or characteristics, just like anything else that you would be focusing on and learning about. And that's what I'm talking about, the greaterness that love is, because it's hard to put into human words, really, but because it is all things, it is God, and it is consciousness, it is what you are, it is life, it is sacred energy. And we get into that, we talk about how energy is, what's the word, potential energy. It is unformed, but it also encapsulates everything else that already is. Everything else that is in creation is in the one particle of energy, one particle of love. But going back to the characteristics of love and the qualities of what love is, I'll tell you about an experience I've had, and this is probably going to be one of those tales that you hear spiritual teachers always regaling to explain their concepts, but this is going to be one of mine, I'm sure of it. But so I went to the beach one day when I was very sad. I had lost a lot. I was in deep, deep grief. And yeah, I was just so sad and heavy. And I had been sort of communing a little bit with my spirit guides and my spirit in general and the universe for assistance or support. And my intuition said to me to just go to the beach, go into the water. It said go into the shallow bit. This was a really cool beach, which was only shallow bits, which I love, because there's no waves coming to surprise you. I went into the shallows, and the water, it was like the ocean was speaking to me, and it was offering itself to hold me and to hold what I was feeling and to release it into the water. It was the ocean, it was my higher self, it was just an overall intuition. So I did that. Basically that looked like just sort of holding and crying and looking around to see that no one could see me or it wasn't super obvious. And yeah, trying to let some of it out. And as I did that, there was like a visual of the energy releasing, and it was sort of pouring and seeping down and out across and through the water. And what I remember is, I think I had my eyes closed, and then when I opened my eyes, this was after like a minute or maybe a few, I'm not sure, but when I opened my eyes, I looked around and I had an awareness that everything I was seeing and everything I was in, like the air and the ocean I was swimming in and the sand I was touching, was water, was love. Everything I was in was love. And I looked and saw what I always see, which is a visual snow is what people call it, but it's not actually visual snow, it's not a disorder. It's the particles of light flowing around, and with practice you can start to see stuff. But anyway, I saw that, as I usually do, but it came with a really strong awareness that everything was love. Like the dancing little particles, they're like little see-through dots, like static on a TV, but see-through, and it doesn't obstruct my vision, except at nighttime. But yeah, you saw the particle, and I understood that it was dancing love. And I started crying from the beauty and joy of that. And I felt, because I was feeling that love too, I believe it was like a heart awakening experience. I looked at everything and it was so stupid to me that the sand, that I didn't know that the sand was love, and that I had been thinking that other people were something other than love. I was looking at the people on the beach, and like, it was just like so silly in that moment. It was as silly as thinking that the sky didn't exist. Like, it's just like, of course that's there. Like, imagine if you forgot that and then you remembered that, you would be like, duh, like, what is wrong with me? Hopefully with less judgment than that comment. But yeah, I was crying and I was in joy, and I understood that love held me and love was what all is. And then I felt the qualities of that love, and that it had a unity type feeling to it. What it was as I like focus on the sand, for instance, I felt it was like it was calling to me. It was reaching out to me, and not in a graspy, clingy, meh way, in a familiar way, in a we are the same way, and we are one. It was oneness. And that really, yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And I understood that love is unity, and unity is love, and oneness is unity, and oneness is love, and all that, and that everything around me is love. And now when I focus on that, you get a little bit back into the vibration. You know, I'm looking at the curtains, and it's like they're talking. It's like they are dancing aliveness. And it's like, if you hold that focus, it's so beautiful. And if I keep doing it, I'll probably start crying, because what you start to feel is God. You start to feel the aliveness of everything. But that was my experience of love as like a substance, and that I had it all wrong. And then I understood also that the love was in me, and then it was like, now I will use it. A good example to further understand it is the way that I use it at the moment sometimes is, if I am feeling sad or something, I can intend love. So it might practically look like, I intend love within this sadness, or to hold this sadness or something. I'm not pushing the sadness or anything away, because I understand that it has a purpose, and that in the deep beneath it is love as well. But I'm adding love. But the main point of this is, that's like another topic about emotional alchemy, which is very cool. The main point of this is, though, is that even though I was in sadness, what I do is I simply intend, and what I mean is that you're not feeling love in that moment, and you may even be in times where you cannot feel love at all, and you're distrustful of its presence, distrustful of its existence in all things. If I simply intend love, and I don't do anything, I don't look for it, I don't try to create it, I don't try to push away my perception that it isn't fucking here, I start to feel love. And that is, what you're doing there is that you're bringing your own energetic frequency, your consciousness, into alignment with the vibration of love, at least enough to begin to sense trickles of it. As you focus, it will become more aligned, and you will have a stronger connection. And yeah, you can, if you hold that, you'll feel the God and all of that magicalness. But at first, it may feel like just a drop, especially mostly when you are in a lower frequency, in a low emotion. But yeah, it's interesting to experiment with that and to see that love has always been here, and what the difference is our focus upon it or away from it, and that it doesn't go away. We have this idea that love is gone or inaccessible when we are in pain or we are in suffering or bad things are happening within or without. But it cannot be gone. You'll probably hear me now and in the future say things like love is. This is what I'm talking about, is love always is. Just the way that air always is there. You can hold your breath and not have air. That doesn't feel very good, so I'm gonna breathe. So it's just so cool, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It's so cool to understand that love is there. I am looking at my computer because I have a couple of notes, and I'm just gonna check that I've covered stuff. Yeah, this is more of a note about what is God, but they're almost the same thing. It says, God is a stable force that came into existence to know itself, to trust and love itself, and to see itself as other than, as you, and as you itself. When something is, it is. It has never not been, and it can never be let go of or removed, only hidden or lost, hidden away from your awareness. What else do I want to say about love? Our identity. So at this time, humans are coming into what some people are calling like an ascension or the Great Enlightenment and various things. The main thing, if you want to simplify all that stuff, is that we're coming into the awareness that of what we are and who we really are, which is love. You're the space holder. Love is the space holder that if you meditate and you are practicing observation, mindfulness, or that one I can't say, vipassana, I can never say that. You begin to understand that you can see your emotion without being in or on the train of that emotion and that thought. You can see a thought and be like, I am thinking blah blah blah, which means you are not totally in it. When you're seeing like that, you are in your core love identity. If you were able to focus upon that part of your awareness long enough, you'll begin to feel, amongst other tones, like God and peace and stillness and emptiness and all the qualities that God is, you'll feel love, because it's essentially, by its nature, it's loving as well. And that is what we are awakening to now. I keep pointing like this because I have this visual in my mind that helped me understand it, of like love is like a container all around me, like a big egg, and everything inside of that, including me, this concept of me, this body and thoughts, the mind, is an expression of that. And it is like what I am, the thought of Becc, is like a shining star in the vast black sky of love. It is like the universe giving birth to different expressions. Your thoughts, sad thought might be a blue star, and a happy thought might be a gold star. And when they are happy, when they are on a higher frequency, and they feel good, they're actually being born from that vast canopy of love that you are. That's like that yellow happy star has a trickle of light that is flowing from that black canopy. It's like it pushes it forth as a stream into your consciousness. And the other colors, the distortions, emotion, is like when those get too dim, they get lost or they get distorted, almost infected. I want to say infected, to describe it, but at the same time I don't want anyone to associate your negative emotions with disease or anything wrong with you. But in terms of the way this visual, it could spread, so the sadness can come in and kind of overtake your happiness. But yeah, you are supposed to have emotions. They are healthy and beautiful, and that's the beautiful thing, is the stars that they are, these distortions, lower colors, whatever metaphor you like, in there beneath, when you hold them in love, and you bring the pretty beautiful yellow gold or whatever, and you just hold it and you don't push it away and you don't try to make it be different, and you just love it. It actually remembers, oh, I am gold, I am beauty, I am God, I am, this is me, oh, and they become one. Yeah, so we are becoming aware of our true identity as love beings, and that's kind of the difference between our consciousness and other consciousnesses. There's so many z's. Like, say, like, I don't know, the tree outside. When you connect with nature, you begin to feel better. The reason that people feel better is because it has such a strong frequency of like stillness and non-resistance and all the things that God is, because it has less ego, it has less distortion. We are kind of wanting to become like that, and the way that we do that is we meet with our current lower frequencies or sadness or emotions, and we hold them in love, and we need to begin to disidentify with the idea that we are the sadness that you feel. You're not, you're the one looking at it, and it's okay that it's there, and you commune with it to remind it what it is. You are God, you are love, that is what you are. And we can first begin to remember that by understanding that love as an energy is as fundamental and is like a part of you as much as like your physical heart or having a body, having thoughts. You are also love. You are love.